the much awaited American Liberation Day has happened. Trump has announced the reciprocal tariffs that many people were actually waiting for. And the reciprocal tariffs comes with its bad and goods, as NBC put it, worst of the worst scenario. So let's dive and see some of the Americans or the world react to Americans' reciprocal tariffs.
President Trump's announcement of universal tariffs on the whole world, including the European Union, is a major blow to the world economy.
The administration's tariffs have no basis in logic. This is not the act of a friend.
それにもかかわらずこのような措置が実施されたということは極めて残念であり。
We're going to fight these tariffs with countermeasures.
So there's this lady who has highlighted very well why he thinks these tariffs are the best thing to happen to America. So we shall watch and listen to her.
Hi, I'm sure that you saw that President Trump today signed reciprocal tariffs to countries that we're doing trade with, and for over 100 years in many countries that the tariffs that they charged Americans when we go and we take products, our products and services to them, the tariffs that they charge are astronomical compared to what we charge them to bring in their goods into the United States. I want to first of all, let me bring this to your attention. What President Trump said is that he's going to do where he reciprocates these countries, and he even gave them a discount on the tariffs that they're paying to bring products into the United States. But let me just give this information to you. Currently, the U.S. charges 2.4% tariffs on motorcycles. 2.4%. That's when someone is bringing motorcycles from other countries into the United States. Thailand, on the other hand, charges 60%. If we were to send our motorcycles to Thailand, 60%. India, 70%. Vietnam, 75%. Likewise, in autos, we currently charge 2.5% tariffs. Imagine that. And then look, the EU charges 10%. So we're charging them 2.4% when we bring cars or autos from into the United States from the European Union. However, if we sell cars there, they charge us 10% on those cars. India charges our cars 70%. So with these reciprocal tariffs that President Trump is planning to institute now, it will help so much. What it will do is it will help manufacturing in this country so that we have, like in the auto industry, we have like General Motors and Ford and companies like that. They can buy American or make American products and then afford to send them somewhere else or to trade, export them to other countries and still stay in business. And let me just say, this is what President Trump brought up, that the United States, we used to have a great economy. Then in 1913, when the elitists took over the Federal Reserve and other institutions in this country, what happened? They started charging income tax. So instead of our country making money by shipping products to other countries that paid us to ship those countries, our products to them, then what did they started doing? They started charging us an income tax. So instead of other countries paying for our country by purchasing our products, what happened? The money that came into our country, the revenues that came into our country came in by income taxes from American workers. And so that's what President Trump is trying to do in this day, Liberation Day that he's having, is to make it where American taxpayers, just working people like me and you, are not paying for everything in this country. And by having reciprocal taxes on products or tariffs on products that go out of our country into other countries, they're helping to pay and bringing in revenues to our country. This is just a smart thing. It should be nonpartisan. And now you have Democrats saying all of these things, how this is going to hurt us. Now, if you are just a regular thinking person, and you're selling your lemonade for 10 cents and everybody else is selling their cookies to you for $1, or they're selling their lemonade for $1, common sense would make you think that you are losing when you're not charging exactly what everybody else is charging. And let me give you an example with these reciprocal tariffs. If you look at this chart, China, their tariffs to the United States, 67%. All President Trump is trying to get China to pay is 34%. That's a tariff with a discount. So even with what he is implementing, it is not even on that same level as what China is charging us. And then look at the EU. They're charging us 39%. All President Trump wants to charge them is 20%. And people are all in an uproar because President Trump is trying to get the U.S. manufacturers or any products that we're selling. He's trying to get us money that they have not been paying us. However, when we buy products from them, they charge us tremendous tariffs on it. So he's trying to make the playing field as even as possible. It's still not even, but at least it's not as bad as it's been before. Vietnam charges us 90% tariffs. That means if we ship a product to Vietnam, they're adding 90% to it. So President Trump says, since you're going to charge us 90%, we're going to charge you 46%. Taiwan, 64%. And you know, we have a lot of products from Taiwan, especially when you're talking about IT products. They charge us 64%. President Trump says, okay, then we're going to charge you 34%. And then you even look, everybody has been talking about all of these other countries that President Trump is now saying, if you're charging us this, then this is what we're going to charge you. And so that is what this day of liberation means. All it means is that the president of the United States is looking out for American citizens. And by us charging tariffs, it will not be long before our taxes drop and the American workers are not paying for everything in our country.
As NBC have related, there's Japan, they have reacted. They are saying that we are extremely disappointed by Trump's tariffs, you know. So Canada has announced they are going to fight back, you know. They are going to fight back on these reciprocal tariffs that Donald Trump has announced. So it was a major 10% tariff, as you all of you have all known, on major U.S. imports, you know. So if any country is going to import or exports to America, there's a bar of minimum of 10% tariff.
Guess which country was one of the only countries to not get tariffs slapped on them? The country whose name starts with an R. I can't say their name because every single time I do, my video goes unseen. And I know this was done purposefully. He had to remove them from the list. You want to know how I know? Because these two islands got thrown into the list accidentally. Why would I say accidentally? Because he put tariffs on these two islands that nobody lives on. It's uninhabitable. Nobody lives here. There's nothing being exported or imported on these two islands. Meaning he painted a broad brush of tariffs on every single piece of land he could fucking see, and then purposely said, you know what? But not the country whose name starts with an R. If that isn't pledging allegiance to them, I don't know what the fuck is. This is absolutely absurd. Especially when he did put a 10% on the country whose name starts with a U. I can't even right now. Anyways, my name is Mercedes Chandler. Expect higher prices. Start taking pictures at the grocery stores of the products you buy so that you can compare them in the upcoming weeks. Anyways, my name is Mercedes Chandler. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thank you. Goodbye.
Can we just build more stuff in the United States so that tariffs don't hit the consumer? I understand why people think this because the administration is parroting this talking point, that instituting tariffs will just encourage more domestic production and therefore American investment. It sounds great, but there are challenges to enacting this. And this is perhaps why so many investors and certainly the majority of economists do not support the idea of reciprocal tariffs. Other sources who I speak with in Washington who study the economy for a living, and especially the deficit, say they're not even sure that America should be pushing for this manufacturing first economic model. The argument is that tariffs will increase domestic production. Today, every single automaker would have to spend exorbitant amounts of money to create factories inside of the United States, to shore up their supply chains, to find access to resources that they have historically gotten abroad in the United States, resources that cost more money here. It takes years of work alone just to create the factories, much less to figure out the supply chain challenges. Oh, and by the way, in other countries, we are able to have access to incredibly cheap labor because labor is not regulated in other countries the way it is in the United States. And we're in an administration that's cracking down on immigration, which is also going to potentially increase labor costs as well. All of that equates to pressure on profit margins for companies, which pressures earnings growth, which pressures the stock market. Like, all of these policies create a soup of negative impacts for the stock market, which is why we're seeing such a sell-off in stocks. If companies could snap their fingers tomorrow and have domestic production in the United States for free, they would do it because they want to please this administration, because they don't want to have more pain enacted on them through policies like these. Fortunately, it's not that easy, and that's why we're seeing such a sell-off, especially in the names of companies that are going to be particularly impacted by these tariffs, like automakers, for example. Hope this helps.
If Donald Trump's plans were ever implemented, the country would sink into prolonged recession. A few examples. His proposed 35% tariff-like penalties would instigate a trade war, and that would raise prices for consumers, kill our export jobs, and lead entrepreneurs and businesses of all stripes to flee America. It would be very bad for American workers and for American families. But you say, wait. Isn't he a huge business success? Doesn't he know what he's talking about? No, he isn't. And no, he doesn't. Business genius, he is not. Successfully bringing jobs home requires serious policy and reforms that make America the place businesses want to come, want to plant, and want to grow. You can't punish business into doing what you want.
So, people are reacting, like the gentleman here is saying that it's gonna bring havoc to Americans' household. You know, the price of consumer goods is gonna rise. The price of steel industry is gonna rise. So, but there are people, you know, okay, Trump thinks he's like a businessman, I think, and he meant a business of making America great again this time when he announced that he's gonna, liberate the country, you know. So, if this tariff is gonna work, you know, the short run, I think the U.S. stock market have plummeted down terribly, and maybe at the long run, it's gonna maybe show a positive, you know, reaction towards the stock market. But let's wait and see. I hope this is the right thing that Mr. President has done, right? So there's this lady. Okay, of course, the president of European Union, she has talked and she thinks that it is not the right thing that Mr. President has done. And basically, European Union, they are planning actually to retaliate back to what the Trump has put on. But there's this lady also who was explaining very well. I think you should listen to what she's saying and give your comments, and let's know if is the Liberation Day's tariff gonna actually affect, you know, bring a positive impact to the American lives or is gonna bring havoc, you know, to many household items, is gonna bring America into recession, as this gentleman has just said, or is gonna improve Americans' livelihood, is gonna improve American production of manufacturing industries. So let's know in the comment section what you think of the whole idea of Trump's tariffs. So let's watch these clips and please put down your comments.
This is breaking news. We are now witnessing a horrific economic collapse in the United States take place before our eyes, entirely self-inflicted just one day after Donald Trump announced his Liberation Day tariffs, his devastating tariffs on virtually the entire world. The markets are collapsing. We are learning about layoffs across industries, and we are learning about horrific job numbers in March. Let me break it down. First, the markets. As of this recording, the Dow Jones is down more than 1,500 points, the NASDAQ down more than 900, and the S&P 500 down 230. I mean, look at these charts. You are seeing virtually a straight line down on all of them. Here is the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, and here's the S&P 500. If we look at jobs, U.S. March job cuts jumped to their highest level since May 2020. Yes, that's at the beginning of the pandemic when people were losing their jobs by the millions in this country. Let me show you how this looks on a chart. So U.S. companies cut 275,240 jobs in March. Here are the job cuts in March. You can see nothing comes close to it until we go back to the pandemic last time Trump was president. In response to Trump's tariffs, Stellantis today announced that it will be laying off 900 workers from its workforce in factories across the United States. Whirlpool just also announced the largest layoff in Iowa of 2025. It is getting rid of nearly 1/3 of its workforce in an Iowa factory. These two covers from The Economist sum it up well. Just 22 weeks ago, their cover under President Biden was the economy, the envy of the world. Today, Ruination Day, with Donald Trump sawing off the United States from the rest of the world. Hey, hang in there, everybody. We're going to continue to follow this story here at Midas Touch, so make sure you're following our account and add the Midas Touch podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify right now.
Happy Liberation Day, America. Liberation from logic, liberation from economic good sense, liberation from your allies. It is pretty mad what Donald Trump is doing, but I have seen this before. I've seen this as a Brit with Brexit, where the Brexiteers, who were saying we should leave the EU and cut ourselves off from them, thought that the British were exceptional, that the continent needed us more than we needed them, thought that we were being bullied and getting a bad deal from the whole world around us, and thought that by leaving we would splinter everyone into sixes and sevens, and then they would have to come begging to us for better deals on our terms. And it didn't happen like that at all, because even though half of our trade was with the EU, for them, it was only, what was it? Somewhere between 7 and 13%. I can't remember which. But anyway, so the hit that we took from that trade separation was huge compared to any hit they took. And then also, trade routes were rewired to accommodate for Brexit. So it used to be the case that flow of goods between Ireland and the continent of Europe would go through the UK. But very shortly after Brexit, there were just new sea lines that went around the UK coast and skipping out Wales, skipping out England, and then Ireland was connected with the rest of the European Union just like that. And I think a similar thing is happening here in the States. The notion that and this is not just Europe now, but magnified to the globe, you know, the West is treating us badly. We are exceptional. We should be more dominant. And if we cut the cord, then what will happen is that we can reset things on our own terms. And Donald Trump has long complained that essentially Europe doesn't buy American cars and food. No, because actually European ones are better. But he thinks this is wrong and this needs to be rebalanced, even though in terms of the trade balance and services, America does very well with the rest of the world. But he thinks about goods, he thinks about tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers and standards that are prejudicial about America's low standards on a lot of what they produce. And so he thinks is going to address that by just being aggressive with everyone at the same time. Tariffs everywhere. Burn them all. It will bring more money in. It will drop their exchange rates, so it won't hurt us much anyway. And then when we're producing our own with more vigor and buying our own with more vigor, then they will want to lower these tariff barriers that are hurting them and they will buy more of our stuff. Well, guess what? It's not actually happening like that. He's given the rest of the world enough warning to prepare. The rest of the world are already doing what Europe did when Brexit happened, which is getting together and making alternative plans. You can already see Canada and the EU working together in partnership to be supplying each other for core stuff so that they can cut out the States. Similarly, with Japan and China, would you frickin' believe, are getting together to think about Asian hub that doesn't need to rely on the States. All you're getting is for the United States to be isolated in terms of trade. And then when Donald Trump wants to come and play ball again, he will find that the rest of the world has already got new structures and they're going to be quite impenetrable to the United States. So the United States will be isolated. The value of the dollar will be lower because people aren't dealing in it. And then everything in American power from, post-war period has all been about the size of the American economy. And that's what it can leverage. So everyone wants to buy the dollar and so much trade goes through the US. That is all going to go. And America could become a much, much poorer country very, very quickly. He has miscalculated really badly here.